over about the past 15 months, Oracle's been partnering with leading economists, researchers, and government leaders from around the world, focused on studying smart cities and their use of technologies, and how the use of technologies are modernizing operations, the communities, to make cities more resilient and as well as prosperous. Today I'm going to take you through the study of Smarter Cities 2025, building sustainable models for supporting smart cities and financing business plans to deliver innovation. I'll touch on a couple of things that the presenter from Cisco as well as Karen just talked about in terms of AI. And those of you who may think that what Karen just shared with us is far-fetched, I will assure you that is absolutely not. In fact, Oracle is integrating AI technologies into every single one of our applications. I won't go into detail about things like autonomous database and autonomous data warehouse because I'm not going to have a technical discussion today. But artificial intelligence and machine learning is driving a lot of technology advances. As an example, in autonomous database, we actually use AI to eliminate a lot of the administrative functions that database administrators were commonly performing around patching and securing and optimizing databases, and incorporating machine learning and AI. We now are able to automate a lot of that capabilities. Some of what I will talk about in terms of smart cities is absolutely using AI. So some of the examples that Karen shared with you that are taking place in China, very real. We've automated our citizen services and citizen engagement capabilities, again using AI. So within cameras, detecting that lighting is out, and automating the process of creating a case and a service request, leveraging artificial intelligence. But moving on to what I'm here to talk about today, and the study and the results of the study, examining what it means to be a smart city, how is smart defined, and the various maturity models for what constitutes a smart city. Before I get into the study itself, I just want to talk a little bit about some of the technological and demographic factors that are creating urgency for city leaders. So I already mentioned AI and the intro, but for many, nearly 75% of the budget goes towards keeping older infrastructure updated and operational. So imagine if you were able to reduce that just by 10% and take that 10% and invest it back into innovation and deliver new capabilities within your cities. Secondly, by 2020, there will be over 30 billion IoT-enabled devices. So within the next year, we're going to see a significant increase in the number of IoT devices. Furthermore, by 2050, nearly 68% of the world's population will be living in urban areas, in cities. So let's take a look at where the population spikes are happening. Africa, Asia, Latin America will experience the sharpest increases. Nonetheless, so will Europe and North America. Every city will be challenged to come up with a solution for sustainable population growth and the influx of populations moving into cities. So with respect to how Oracle helps cities modernize, it's all about the cloud. Our strategy is helping our cities and agencies take that critical first step to move critical infrastructure and applications into the cloud, beginning with a modern platform that can incorporate advances in technology like AI and help provide a secure environment for applications. Back office operations, things like smarter finance, performance management, human capital management. One of the results of the studies identified that government agencies are struggling with an aging workforce and certainly need to be able to address recruiting as well as retaining employees within government agencies to retain the intellectual capacity and the knowledge within those agencies. And then finally, modern analytics. It's interesting the comparison from the earlier presentation from Cisco around data being the oil. We look at data as the rocket fuel. Being able to collect, analyze, and leverage data across multiple organizations to provide for the IoT devices and all of the data that comes from those devices. So with the Smarter Cities 2025 survey, I'll take you through the survey and share with you some of our findings from the survey. So a smart city isn't just about technology. It's about making smart decisions across a range of areas, from economic and environmental factors to sustainability to business and government. The 4 Ps of public, private, people, partnerships is certainly an important component of being able to drive improved living standards, which is, as you all know, one of the primary focuses around smarter cities, smarter government. The survey itself addressed key questions facing today's local governments and business leaders. What are the characteristics of a smart city? What's the return on smart cities investment? And a lot of what I'm going to talk about and what the outcomes of the study that we did with leading economists resulted in what are the true ROIs of investing in certain projects across your cities. And then importantly with that ROI models, how can cities support these financial investments with scarce resources and collaboration, again, with corporations and economies. It also addressed in what ways are smarter cities creating values for consumers, for businesses, and local governments. So we also looked at what do cities need to do to actually get smarter. And with that, we identified 10 attributes for what creates a smart city and developed a framework for helping to answer some of those questions. The 10 pillars for smart cities are smart economy, and that's the use of data and technology to provide industry development, support trade, as well as economic performance. Smart environment, which is improved sustainability, energy use, and resource allocation through innovation. Smart financing and budgeting, the use of data and technology to drive cost efficiencies. Smart governance, enabling businesses and citizens to prosper through digitally enabled government. Smarter infrastructure, not just roads and buildings, but being able to interconnect infrastructure and equipment to allow optimization. Mobility is a key component. being able to provide for a frictionless intermodal transit capability across modes, from buses to trains to scooters to bikes to ride share to transportation services like taxis or Uber or Lyft, and interconnecting all of those modalities to support seamless transportation and efficient use of transportation resources. And then obviously, looking at being able to support smart payment systems. And that's everything from paying for water, for trash, for utilities, to paying fines, paying taxes, and making that process seamless for citizens. I mentioned smart talent, and that's not just within cities, but providing the collaboration between institutions of education as well as supporting businesses to obviously, smart public health, right? Being able to provide those health and human services that are designed to support prosperity and improve the lifespan of your citizens. So let me talk a little bit about the methodology that we used. We studied 136 cities in 55 countries. These cities ranged in size from 35,000, which was a town in southern Sweden, to over 37 million people, as the city of Tokyo participated in this study as well. And we looked at cities from least advanced to most advanced. We also surveyed over 2,000 citizens because we wanted to understand the perspective of the citizen. In addition, we surveyed over 750 business leaders to get the perspective of the business leaders within a city and how those businesses chose to invest in a city, to bring their businesses into the cities, and that provided our full picture of the survey. So how did we build our economic model for measuring smart city impact? And the 3 years anticipated trajectory of that. Well, our goal was to establish what are the most effective business plans for creating, funding smart cities of the future, as well as what's that return on investment. So we exploited the secondary case study information, impacts of specific types of smart city projects, repeatable published data on existing implementations. We looked at city-specific implementation data from government surveys. We also looked at demographic data, population, income, transit ridership, things along those lines, as well as data from business and consumer surveys. As I mentioned, over 2,000 citizens and 750 business leaders. So we calculated a SMART score for these 136 cities based on their responses to the surveys, and all of this data is available for reuse. I'll make sure that you get access to the ESI Thought Labs study that Oracle and other companies were partnering on. But with that, we identified the level of smart city investment. How much are they investing in modern technologies like cloud, a data platform, mobile applications, emerging technologies like AI, IoT, as well as the use of data analytics. To what extent is the city able to collect data, analyze data, extract data across multiple pillars of siloed data sets, and then how they're utilizing that data. To the application of smart technologies. How far along is the city in the application and use of the modern technologies? And then lastly, the self-rating. How those cities rate themselves. And with that, we set up, beginners starting to pilot plan for smart cities to transitioning, seeing progress and benefits from cities' initiatives, and then leaders. And as my colleague from Cisco articulated, Singapore, Zurich, Geneva, all leading in city initiatives, and our study, resulted in some of those same. And then there's 133 others that you can see where they are in various projects and initiatives. So now let's look at some of the key findings of the survey. So today, cities see livability improvements such as safety and security, which is kind of interesting from Karen's presentation just before me here, in the difference between safety and security. And to improved infrastructure is some of the biggest benefits of smart city initiatives. We are looking ahead 3 years, and what we see is that there's changes in the ordering. Financial benefits start to grow materially. Generating additional revenue moves into first place. And a lot of that comes from not just new services, but from cities being able to actually use technology to collect on fees and fines and taxes and services being rendered that the city delivers today. Also being able to do it in a much more efficient manner. One of the things to note here is that you see citizen satisfaction now makes the list at number 5 as a future benefit. With that, the economic development and the ability to make it easier for citizens to engage with city services now becomes a significant focus area for cities. So our study revealed that for leading cities, environment, mobility, and health delivered the greatest ROI. So investing in these 3 areas was resulting in the greatest ROI for cities. I mentioned the focus around data, and it's interesting as well that Cisco also mentioned the focus around data. One of the major findings of the study was that data is the rocket fuel of city transformation, right? Being able to chart the data, pull together vast amounts of data from things like IoT-enabled sensors, share data between city departments, like hospitals, social service, law enforcement, to support the community. So only 1 out of 4 cities or less are now advanced in becoming a smart city. But 3 years from now, more than double that number in advances of the use of technologies. There's clearly confidence that technology will help support and grow cities. Things like governance, infrastructure, and payments will be furthest ahead. So cloud-based technologies like mobile apps, data platforms, and IoT has become core enablers for cities. Of note, however, you'll see IoT is the least advanced. So even though there will be 30 billion IoT devices, it's actually the least advanced. Cities are now just becoming to realize that integrating the vast amounts of data into applications, as well as the use of that data, is becoming increasingly more important for supporting the smart cities of the future. Blockchain, AI, drones, AR and VR are still in early stages. I think a lot of that is because of how those technologies are being applied to the business aspect of cities, but they are expected to grow exponentially. And as you'll note, AI leads the way for every region. And based on the topic that Karen shared with us, we certainly need to focus on how we're using artificial intelligence and putting some parameters around it. On that note, I'll just share one of the comments that Karen also made around bias. Many of you may have heard, companies like LinkedIn have been using AI in their recruiting process, recruiting employees. Microsoft the same, and those companies have had to postpone and discontinue a lot of those programs because what they've found is that the same hiring biases, right, that humans applied were being replicated in artificial intelligence. And so we really have not found a way around bias avoidance in the use of technology. So let's take a look at how the technology is being applied. Some of the European cities responded to the survey. Which of the following digital technologies does your city currently actively use to support? Cloud, a citywide data platform, mobile apps are in wide adoption, and the use of IoT slightly lower. AI, blockchain, and vehicle to everything are some of the greatest interests for the next 3 years. So our biggest finding of this study was that smart transformation does in fact drive measurable economic growth. Cities across the smart city maturity curve are expected to increase their use of technologies. The biggest increase will be from beginner cities, which will go from average maturity score of 1.2 to 1.8. Our research established that smart city benefits make them more attractive places for people to live and work and do business, which will lead the virtuous cycle of additional economic growth. We also, realized that the economic growth analysis found that the average impact associated with becoming a smarter city in GDP per capita by 21%, population growth by 13%, over the next 3 to 5 years in beginning cities if they're able to achieve their smart city plans. In a month, ESI Thought Labs, Oracle, and other partners will unveil our next study, which is building a hyper-connected city. This study builds on the first, but specifically focuses on the leaders. So out of that 136 cities that we studied, we're now going to focus on the leaders in smart city initiatives. And basically, we wanted to know more about how those 100 leading cities are achieving their benefits. We're looking at answering such questions as, what are the use cases? Right? What problems are those cities actually trying to solve? And what is the impact of those solutions? What technology is being used to achieve those gains, as well as what are their priorities and their concerns. So the study results will be released in Barcelona at Smart Cities World Expo next month. So with that index, we're looking at the connected citizen. How do we measure the engagement within a community, as well as the technology examines the digital use. So we're excited about the second study around hyper-connected cities. Those of you who are interested in more information from the first study and what projects, what implementations cities are using, the model that was developed is beneficial for every institution, every agency within a city, and being able to help organizations connect citizens with services, leveraging technologies. And so, with that, I'd like to thank you. This concludes my remarks on smart cities and the study on what makes a city smart. Thank you very much.